I knew something terrible would happen at the end, not to mention the fact that Michael constantly told me, LaToya, if I die, they're going to murder me, they're going to kill me. He would tell me that, Barbara, and that's when Michael passed. When I found out he had actually passed, I said, no, it wasn't an accident. He was murdered.
With a black woman?
Of course.
As a surrogate mother?
Of course.
But I've seen Blanket, and I think it's safe to say his mother was probably white.
No, you're wrong.
I'm wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So Blanket's mother's black?
Yeah.
I have no comment.
You're not concerned about him?
I didn't say I wasn't concerned. I did not say that. I said I have no comment on that. Because we really don't know if he's on painkillers, do we? I must tell you that this is very difficult for me. That Michael is my brother. I love him a great deal. But I cannot and I will not be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children.
After decades of mystery, controversy, and speculation, LaToya Jackson is finally breaking her silence about her unique and often puzzling relationship with her brother, Michael Jackson. Known for her reserved and cryptic approach to their shared past, LaToya has often left fans with more questions than answers, speaking in fragments and hints rather than full revelations. But now, at 68, LaToya has decided it's time to lay everything out and share the truth behind the relationship that fascinated and at times disturbed the public for years. LaToya and Michael weren't just siblings, they were bound by shared fame, family secrets, and an upbringing that placed intense pressure on each of them from an early age. Growing up in the public eye meant their bond was scrutinized and analyzed like few sibling relationships in history. As members of the Jackson family, they both faced extraordinary expectations under the strict and often controversial guidance of their father, Joe Jackson, a man whose ambitions and methods cast a long shadow over their lives. LaToya's insights into their relationship reveal a side of Michael and of herself that the public never saw. For LaToya, the decision to speak out didn't come lightly. Throughout her life, her relationship with Michael has been both a source of strength and a cause of turmoil, marked by loyalty, periods of estrangement, and moments of doubt. There were times when they were incredibly close, almost like confidants, and others when they drifted apart, sometimes not speaking for years. Yet despite the ups and downs, their bond was always uniquely intense, shaped by the shared experiences of being a Jackson. So why has LaToya decided to finally open up now? At 68, she says she's ready to set the record straight. Her revelations hint at secrets the public never saw, private struggles, painful misunderstandings, and a connection tested time and again by the pressures of fame and family dynamics. This is the story of LaToya Jackson's relationship with the king of pop, a story filled with unexpected twists, painful truths, and secrets that have remained hidden for decades. Growing up as Jacksons, LaToya and Michael shared an experience few could understand, one defined by relentless fame and intense family pressure. From a young age, both were groomed for the spotlight, their father, Joe Jackson, pushing them towards success with an iron hand. As they each embarked on their careers, their bond became a mixture of support and survival, a connection forged through shared challenges but also complicated by the demands of fame. As Michael's career skyrocketed, LaToya watched from the sidelines, feeling a mix of pride and personal pressure. The Jackson family dynamic was unlike any other, with Joe's strict control permeating every aspect of their lives. While Joe pushed his children to be the best, his methods left emotional scars on each of them, creating a complicated dynamic within the family. LaToya has often spoken about Joe's influence, and she admits that it shaped how she related to Michael as both a brother and a fellow performer.
I think the verdict was right. I wish, and I don't mean this in a rude or mean way, but I wish, you know, Michael, we can't bring him back. And I wish that he could spend more time. And I know that he's appealing this. And it's supposed to be tomorrow. I believe they're having a little sentence tomorrow. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be there, but I would have loved to have been there because I think he's where he belongs. You don't do things like this. This is something that...
Do you think that he needs more time in jail?
Absolutely, absolutely.
In these early years, Michael and LaToya were close, bonded by their shared experiences under Joe's management. They confided in each other, finding comfort in knowing they understood each other's struggles. Yet the pressures of their upbringing also created friction. LaToya, always in Michael's Michael's shadow, felt the weight of comparison, and Michael, forever striving for perfection, sometimes kept his guard up even around her. LaToya recalls moments where they both felt trapped by the expectations placed on them, unable to fully escape the demands of their careers and the control of their father. As they navigated their individual paths, LaToya and Michael's relationship was shaped by this mix of loyalty, love, and tension. Both dreamed of freedom from their father's influence, but they struggled to find it, each choosing different ways to cope. For LaToya, breaking free meant distancing herself from the family's image and finding her own voice, while Michael became even more determined to redefine himself, striving to escape the pressures he felt from both his family and the public. In these formative years, they were more than just siblings, they were allies in the complicated world of the Jackson family. Yet as time went on, this bond would be tested, strained by misunderstandings, fame, and choices that would ultimately drive them down very different paths. In the 1990s, LaToya's relationship with her family, especially with Michael, took a dramatic and painful turn. During this time, LaToya made a series of shocking accusations against her family, including claims about Michael that left fans and the media stunned. The allegations created an irreparable rift between her and the Jacksons, casting her as an outsider within her own family. The world was left wondering, were LaToya's statements genuine expressions of a troubled family dynamic, or were they influenced by someone else? At the time, LaToya was under the control of her then husband and manager, Jack Gordon.
On our family or anybody in general, what you're failing to understand or failing to realize is that it's not just me or my family that you are touching. You're touching Mike.
A man widely known for his manipulative and controlling behavior. Many believed that Gordon had pressured her into making these claims as part of his larger strategy to exploit her and distance her from her family. In later years, LaToya herself admitted to feeling trapped during this period, stating that Gordon had exerted immense control over her life, even to the point of making threats to maintain his influence. She has since described those years as some of the darkest of her life, a time when she felt she had lost her voice and was unable to act freely. These accusations led to a long estrangement between LaToya and Michael. For years, they had little to no contact, with LaToya's statements and actions creating a seemingly insurmountable divide. While Michael rarely spoke about LaToya publicly, it was clear that he was deeply hurt by her claims. Friends and family members reported that he struggled to reconcile the sister he had once been so close to with the person making accusations against him. LaToya, too, later admitted to feeling torn, regretting the years she had spent apart from her family, especially from Michael. But as LaToya looks back now, she has a different perspective on those painful years. At 68, she speaks with a clarity that only time and experience can bring, explaining that she feels regret for allowing herself to be influenced by those around her.
However, you have not lived in the same house. You don't know what's gone on. You don't know what goes on. I don't have the liberty to speak about this matter at this moment. It's very, very wrong.
I invite you to say he's innocent.
I want the best for Michael. You know what you're asking me? You're asking me something that I choose not to answer.
Okay.
And I have my reasons for it.
Okay.
And you guys should not say a word. The people that I hear sighing, you know why? You have not lived in the same house with me. You do not know what goes on in my house. You have not been there. If you were there and you know what goes on, then let me hear you say something. I think I'm being very, very kind.
She acknowledges the damage her words did and has expressed sorrow for the distance it created between her and Michael. Her reflections reveal a woman who was vulnerable to manipulation, trapped in circumstances that led her to betray the very people who had once been her greatest allies. As LaToya shares her story, it becomes clear that her relationship with Michael during this time was clouded by forces beyond her control. The estrangement, though painful, was part of a larger journey, a journey that would ultimately lead her back to her family and back to Michael, though not without years of heartache and regret. As the years passed, LaToya began to find her way back to her family and ultimately to Michael. During some of the most challenging times in Michael's life, particularly when he faced legal battles and intense public scrutiny, LaToya took a surprising turn. She publicly defended her brother. After years of estrangement, her vocal support shocked fans and left many questioning what had changed. Why, after such a public fallout, did LaToya choose to stand by Michael during his darkest days? It became clear that LaToya felt deep remorse for her earlier accusations, and she took the opportunity to explain what had really happened in the years under Jack Gordon's influence. She revealed that Gordon had coerced her into making claims against Michael and the family, using fear and manipulation manipulation to control her actions. According to LaToya, Gordon's grip on her life was so intense that she felt she had no choice but to follow his demands, even if it meant turning against her brother. As she broke free from Gordon's control, she realized the extent of the damage that had been done, not only to her reputation, but to her family bonds as well. LaToya's defense of Michael during his legal challenges was her way of repairing the damage and showing her support when he needed it most.
Well, first of all, he told me over and over and over. When he first told me, LaToya, they're going to kill me. I said, who, Michael? First, I thought you're Michael Jackson. Nobody in their right mind would ever think of doing anything like this to you. That's what you think. He says, no, but you don't understand. And then I saw how serious he was. He said, it's bigger than what you think. I said, well, Michael, what is it? He said, it's my publishing. They're after my publishing. They want to take it. As you guys know, my brother had one of the largest catalogs in the world, meaning music-wise.
The Beatles collection was one of them.
He owned the Beatles, yes. Yeah. There's an elevator music that you hear, just everything, basically a piece of every artist.
I'm really intrigued because you say that there was somebody at this house and you know who it was. Can you say who it was?
No, I cannot say because there were other people at the house as well.
She publicly stated that she believed in his innocence, describing him as a caring, gentle person who had been misunderstood and targeted. Her words were a stark contrast to the accusations she had once made, and fans could sense her sincerity as she expressed regret over her past statements. By standing by him during his legal battles, LaToya hoped to make amends, to show Michael that despite their turbulent past, she was there for him. For Michael, LaToya's support was a sign of reconciliation, a gesture that hinted at the possibility of rebuilding their once close relationship. Although he remained guarded, friends of the family noted that he was moved by LaToya's public statements and appreciated her willingness to defend him. It was a moment of redemption for LaToya, a step toward healing the wounds that had divided them for years. In hindsight, LaToya's actions during this period reflect a woman coming to terms with her mistakes, reclaiming her voice, and seeking forgiveness. Her journey back to Michael wasn't just about clearing her conscience. It was about re-establishing a connection with her brother and her family. And as she reflects on this chapter today, she describes it as a critical turning point, one that helped her rediscover her loyalty to Michael and to the family she had once lost. Throughout the years, Michael and LaToya shared a relationship marked by a unique blend of loyalty, tension, and periods of distance. Despite the highs and lows, there was always an undeniable bond between them, a connection that both cherished but struggled to maintain. LaToya once described herself as one of Michael's confidants, someone who understood his inner world better than most. She saw firsthand the struggles he endured as a global superstar, from the pressures of fame to the constant scrutiny from the media and public. In her words, there were times when Michael could confide in her, when they shared a closeness that felt unbreakable. But as their lives grew more complex, so did their relationship. Fame had isolated Michael in ways few could understand, and at times, this led him to withdraw, even from those closest to him. LaToya recalls periods when Michael's world became so insular that their once regular conversations dwindled to silence. There were stretches when they didn't speak for years, a heartbreaking reality for siblings who had once been so close. Yet, despite the distance, LaToya always felt a deep sense of loyalty to Michael, even during the times they drifted apart. Their relationship was also influenced by the intense pressures that came from being part of the Jackson family. Both LaToya and Michael faced criticism for their choices, their actions scrutinized not just by the public, but by each other. LaToya admits that at times they struggled to see eye to eye, especially as they navigated their individual paths to freedom and self-discovery. She often found herself torn between supporting Michael's choices and worrying for him, her protective instincts clashing with her own desire to carve out a life independent of the family's expectations.
Belts, whips, whatever. My brothers were grown, and my father would take his fist and he would punch them and knock them down the steps constantly.
Would they provoke him?
To this day, no, of course not. To this day, they are still afraid of my father, and they will tell you. They come to me and they say, LaToya, we have kids in college and we're afraid of my father still today. But my mother allowed this to go on, which makes it so bad. She didn't stop it.
She too was an abuse victim, wasn't she?
My mother, by my father, according to my brother, yes. According to Michael, he would tell me he would see my father beating my mother. I have never seen my father beat my mother.
Reflecting on these years, LaToya acknowledges that their bond was complex, marked by periods of estrangement but rooted in an unspoken understanding that few could replicate. While there were moments of frustration, misunderstandings, and hurt, there was also a deep, enduring love that persisted through it all. Today, she speaks of Michael with both admiration and a profound sense of loss, sharing that that despite everything, he will always hold a special place in her heart. Their bond may have been strained, but it was a connection that neither fame nor distance could completely break. In her own words, LaToya's reflections reveal the challenges of loving someone who lived in a world so different from her own, yet who was, at his core, still her brother. Now, at 68, LaToya looks back on her relationship with Michael with a clarity that only age and experience can bring. In recent interviews, she has spoken more openly than ever about the years they spent together and the regrets that have lingered. She reflects on the moments she wishes she'd been more present for him, especially during his most challenging times. With time, she has come to realize the profound impact that fame, family expectations, and personal struggles had on Michael, and how these pressures affected their relationship in ways she couldn't fully understand before. LaToya admits that in her younger years, she was so focused on finding her own path that she didn't always recognize the depth of Michael's struggles. She shares that, looking back, she wishes she had been a more consistent support for him, a steady presence he could rely on in a world that often seemed to isolate him. Now she sees those missed opportunities with a sense of sadness, realizing that Michael needed people around him who understood the unique pressures he faced. Her regrets are tinged with the knowledge that, had she been closer to him, perhaps she could have helped ease some of his burdens. But LaToya's reflections aren't solely about regret. They're also filled with appreciation for the moments they did share, the laughter, and the camaraderie that bound them as siblings. She recalls memories of quiet conversations, of times when Michael would open up to her, revealing his dreams, his fears, and his insecurities. She cherishes these glimpses into his world, moments that have become even more precious with the passage of time. For LaToya, these memories are a reminder of the Michael she knew beyond the fame, the kind, thoughtful brother who cared deeply for those around him. LaToya also speaks to a newfound understanding of Michael's journey, acknowledging the strength it took for him to remain true to himself in an industry that constantly sought to shape him. She sees now that he was more than just her brother. He was an artist fighting to stay grounded in a world that could easily consume those who weren't vigilant. And while their paths were different, LaToya realizes they both shared a common struggle, the desire to be true to themselves despite the pressures that surrounded them. Her reflections at this stage of life reveal a woman who has found peace with her past but still carries the weight of what might have been. By sharing her memories and insights, LaToya hopes to honor Michael's legacy, acknowledging the challenges he faced and the strength he showed. As she reflects on their relationship, it's clear that her story is one of both love and loss, a bond that was tested but never fully broken. One of the most profound realizations LaToya has come to over the years is the role their father, Joe Jackson, played in shaping both her and Michael's lives, and ultimately, their relationship. Joe's intense control and strict discipline were both a driving force behind the Jackson family's success and a source of deep pain. For LaToya and Michael, their father's influence was inescapable, permeating every part of their childhood and shaping their identities as adults. As they grew older, they each handled Joe's control in different ways, yet they both carried the weight of his expectations and his often harsh parenting style. LaToya acknowledges that Joe's approach brought them closer in some ways, as they sought comfort in each other while navigating the complexities of fame under his guidance. They shared an understanding of the pressures their father placed upon them, pressures to be perfect, to constantly succeed, and to meet the high standards he set for them. This bond of shared experience created a unique closeness between them, an unspoken connection that only siblings raised in such an environment could understand. But Joe's influence also created divisions. His rigid control pushed both Michael and LaToya to seek independence, often in ways that led them down separate paths. For LaToya, rebelling against Joe meant carving out her own identity, sometimes at the cost of her relationship with the family. For Michael, it meant an intense pursuit of creative freedom, a desire to escape the confinements of his past and redefine himself on his terms. As LaToya looks back, she recognizes that Joe's impact on their lives was a double-edged sword. He was both the catalyst for their success and the source of their deepest struggles. At 68, LaToya sees her father's role in their lives with a more nuanced perspective. She understands that his desire to push them to greatness came from his own dreams and fears, yet his methods left emotional scars that each of them carried differently. She now realizes that much of the tension between her and Michael stemmed from the unspoken effects of Joe's control, the internal battles they fought to reconcile their love for family with the need to break free. Reflecting on these dynamics, LaToya shares that her bond with Michael was, in many ways, a reflection of the family's complicated legacy. Their closeness and distance, loyalty and conflict were all tied to the life life they were born into and the father they shared. Today, she understands more clearly than ever how Joe's influence shaped her relationship with Michael, and she wishes she had been able to navigate those complexities with more empathy and understanding. As LaToya reflects on her life and her relationship with Michael, she is left with a powerful sense of both gratitude and responsibility. At 68, she feels an obligation to share her story, not only as a way to honor Michael's legacy, but also as a way to shed light on the struggles they both faced. For LaToya, speaking out about their complex relationship has become a way to preserve the memory of the brother she knew, the man behind the fame who was gentle, kind, and full of dreams. LaToya wants the world to remember Michael not just as the king of pop, but as a person who struggled with the weight of his own legacy, the expectations of his family, and the pressures of an unforgiving industry. In her own words, she describes him as a man who gave his all to his art, who fought through private battles, and who, despite everything, maintained a loving spirit that few truly understood. Her hope is that by sharing these insights, people will see a more human side of Michael, one that isn't defined by headlines or controversies, but by the resilience and vulnerability he showed throughout his life. Looking back, LaToya has also found a sense of peace with the role she played in Michael's life. She knows that their relationship had its imperfections, filled with moments of tension and distance, yet rooted in an unwavering bond. She has come to terms with the regrets, accepting that while she couldn't change the past, she can honor it by keeping Michael's memory alive with honesty and love. In her reflections, there is a sense of closure, a recognition of the journey they shared, the challenges they overcame, and the bond that remained, even through the hardest times. LaToya's story isn't just about her relationship with Michael. It's about the impact of family, fame, and forgiveness. It's about understanding the cost of greatness and the sacrifices made along the way. As she speaks to fans now, her message is one of compassion and understanding, urging people to look beyond the glitz and controversy to see Michael as she did, a remarkable soul who gave everything to those he loved, often at great personal cost. In sharing her journey with Michael, LaToya hopes to provide a new perspective, one that adds depth to his legacy and offers fans a glimpse into the man behind the legend. Her final words reflect a lifetime of love, loss, and growth. Michael was more than an icon. He was my brother, my friend, and someone who taught me about strength and resilience in ways I'll never forget. Through her story, LaToya invites the world to remember Michael Jackson not only for his talent, but for the person he was. A person whose impact reaches far beyond the music and into the hearts of those who knew him best.